Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to Mabinogi. So the new Mabinogi Reborn, I think it's called, update came out. And with that, all the ULAD dungeons have been revamped. Drop lists have been changed, spawn patterns have been changed, rooms have been changed, chests have been changed, like a ton of things have changed. And typically in the past, I've always tried to make videos with like content updates. I haven't been very good about it. But anyways, I'm gonna try and do some kind of like fun dungeon run. Fiodh Intermediate. I've done it once before after the revamp, and I think I would consider my archery above average. It's not great. Really, all I have going for me is my bow and some mediocre pendants. But my damage is decent. And I wasn't one-shotting things. And it's kind of a basic pass, so you can get it whenever. So I wanted to kind of go through the new dungeon, the new Fiodh Int in the new dungeon revamp. If you can't tell, I'm super tired. I don't know why I'm recording this, especially at the time I am. It's 2:30 a.m. and I have to wake up at 7 to take my mom someplace that I literally can't even remember. Oh yeah, that's why I also like this dungeon, is because there's a bit of fun multi-aggro, which is something that we have naturally, but I thought in this dungeon it was kind of aggressive. I thought that was pretty fun. So yeah, anyways, it's 2:30 a.m. I have to wake up at 7. So what's a better time to make a Mobby video? I'm one of those people where like at night my brain comes alive, and this is one of those nights where I can't sleep at all. And so I'm gonna make a video, because why not? And plus, with my freaking monthly update schedule or upload schedule, it's probably about time I made another one anyways. I think my last video was some about my magic. Oh yeah, I was making magic weapons. That actually turned out pretty well. Speaking of magic weapons, I'm actually magic crafting, which is why my inventory is the way it is. What was gonna say? Where are they? Oh yeah, so here's my ice wand, which is 1 Dura. That's real great. Then my tribolt and my druid staff. I think the most I've been hitting with my tribolt is like 14Ks with my firebolts, but that'll be real easy to change because one, that was without capped. That damage is without capped int. 2, it's real easy to get magic gear, or shall I say better magic gear than what I have. I'd say it's really easy to get magic gear, not counting reforges, and with moderate enchants. It's certainly easier than some of the other classes. I'd say archery enchants are kind of easy to get. I don't know, but there's a lot of options when it comes to magic enchants, and you can go for a lot of different things, which is also kind of the appeal to me for mage, was that in my eyes, obviously it's up for discussion or debate, but in my eyes it's a lot easier to improve magic or even combat, you know, like close combat, than it is to improve archery, which is my favorite class. Because in magic, you know, you can choose speed casting or mana efficiency or whatever. You can really tailor it to yourself. But in archery, the real only option is to go for damage, and that's not very... It doesn't feel like you really have a choice You know, Magic feels a lot more free. It feels like you're really building your gear rather than just getting gear. I really haven't built a set of armor or gear in the first place, and geez, probably since I played on Tarlac, so probably like 3 years ago. I remember I built my protection set back when, or my defense set rather, back when that stuff was relevant. Because now you can, well, now it's a lot easier. Back then, you know, you'd have to build your whole armor, your whole set around defense. You know, defense enchants, Dustin. It was quite an ordeal, and that's why I went for it, because back then there was no dex penalty for heavy armor, and so you, like, archers, you know, would want to be tanky. Man, that was such a long time ago. To be honest, I'm more happy with the way it is now, with how heavy armor reduces protection and stuff. Because if it was, oh, I need antidote herbs. I don't. Do I? No, I don't. I don't. That's fantastic. Yeah, so herbalism is at 93.5%, and pretty much just need poison herbs. Poison herbs are going to be easy. I guess I could gather some golden, but I don't know. Also, with this new update, herbs have been a lot easier to find. Hey, mandrakes. What do you know? Exhibit A. Herbs have been a lot easier to find. I've been really happy. What is that? Oh, that's how we got in. Or no, that's how we get out. All those trees. Yeah, the herbs have changed, which I think is a lot of fun. Not necessarily that I'd still do dungeons for herbs. I feel like there's an alternate way to get pretty much anything you want as far as herbalism goes, especially when training. Well, I guess Magicraft does involve herbs, although what I was thinking about was training potion making. There we go. Jeez. Potion making, you need a lot of herbs on, and so I feel like doing dungeons was never a great option, or hasn't been a great option since the homestead change, because you just can't get a lot of them. I remember that was one of the really hard skills to train. As a mage, it was kind of like a sign that you're a really good mage and took it seriously if you trained potion making, because that was kind of like modern day enchanting. Enchanting's got it, and I mean, I think a lot of people would disagree with me right off the bat, but if you think about it, you can just do basic dungeons now for enchant scrolls, or basic shadow missions for enchant scrolls. And depending on if you have people with you or you choose to multi-client or something, if you're willing to put a little effort in, or bend the rules a little, enchanting's not that bad. And also you have training potions and such, which if you're training enchanting and you don't have money for training potions, then that's probably a pretty unlikely case, because typically you train enchanting for endgame gear, and to get endgame gear you need gold. Yeah, that makes sense. Those are words. Yeah, there you go. That's my logic anyways. Obviously I'm wrong. Some people have interests that don't necessarily follow the norms, but I don't see the point in wanting really good enchants if you don't have gear equivalent or better to put it on. And also, that's one of the reasons I'm getting into Magicraft, is because to me, a set isn't complete unless it's the best available. Now, if something's the best available and then it changes, like the game updates and it's no longer the best available, I'll still be happy with it. Because at the time, you know, it was the best. But what I don't like is say my step 6 tribal, right? Or wand. Neither of them are max roll, and yet it's my gear, right? So if I feel like I completed a set, I want the max magic attack roll on those weapons. Or if I make an armor, I want the max protection available for that armor. You know, if I'm getting an armor crafted, like when I got my Dustin crafted in Tarlac, I wanted the the perfect complete or whatever, like when you name it. I wanted that on my Dustin, and that's what I got because I felt, you know, I wanted to be the top of the line. And it goes kind of like the same way with, well, really with everything. But one thing I argue against a lot for endgame players are like people who try and rank one, or like spend like $80 trying to rank one a CRK that wasn't max roll to begin with. I'm like, that's kind of a waste of money, because at that point you're settling with something that's subpar. You're not trying to improve that, which is totally against the spirit of an MMO in my opinion. Well, speaking of that, actually, I do want to talk about that for a second. The reason why I've fallen in love with Mabinogi is because I really like this system of being competitive. And I've ran into a lot of people recently that have the totally opposite idea of Mabinogi about me. And I thought it was really interesting because I just never thought of Mabi the way they did. So in my mind, there are people who complain, say about the new dungeons. Some people are complaining that they're too hard, and other people are saying, well, they're too easy. You know, late game players had nothing to do because all the content they could solo was super easy. You know, all the quote unquote end game content. And oh my gosh, I'm gonna get killed here if I'm not careful. That was a bit odd. That was actually kind of fun. Anyways, so in my mind, endgame content was never supposed to be untouchable. It was supposed to be hard, yes. And when I say hard, I don't mean unclearable. I mean inconsistent. Like say you make a bad mistake, you die from it, right? Inconsistent. But not necessarily that if you do a clean run that you'll just get killed with no warning or whatever. What's a good example of that? I think Rabbi Phantasm is okay, but I think a good example of it would be Rabbi Phantasm without the Wraiths. If you don't know, the Wraiths desummon your pets. And so if you're using Divine Link, which is a necessity, then that means that your Divine Link cancels and whatever's in that room will aggro against you. I've only really done in length. Well, I've only completed the mirror version, but I imagine Phantasm is under the same principle. And so having that said, let's consider Rabbi Phantasm like super high HP mobs. They deal a lot of damage. They have a lot of HP. And the goal is, of course, to kill them, right? So excluding the Wraiths, basically, it's hard content that takes some time and they can kill you. So if you make a mistake, if you aggro something you shouldn't have, if you don't use Divine Link, right? If you don't use your resources properly, Stuff like that. Kind of like, you know, Pika Abyss. If you don't play it right, most likely you're gonna die. I should have just gone with that example in the first place. If you don't play it right, you're gonna die. That's what I think endgame should be. If you're an endgame player, you should be able to do in-game content. And a lot of people, where the opinions differentiate, is that a lot of people I've seen be complaining that, like, hey, this in-game content is too hard. And also people saying, and what also goes against me in a lot of ways is saying that in-game content is too easy. And to me, I understand it, I guess, but I don't agree with it. And that is the whole argument that when you reach in-game content and you beat in-game content, that the game is done. And I disagree with this for two big reasons. One reason is that I think games, especially like Mobby, there is a finish line, but it's a lot farther away than a lot of people who say, I'm done with the game, this is too easy now, are. And now that's, of course, a subjective view, right? If you want to take a game to a certain level, I mean, games are for having fun, and people have different versions of fun, so naturally you're going to have a different end game, you're going to have different ideas behind where you want to take the game. But my big issue with that, the issue of the point of the end game, is that people who say they're done with it. You know, the whole premise of Mobby was you can train whatever you want whenever you want. Now that changed a bit with the new, I say new, it's been out for years. First the the talent system. I forget what it was called when they first introduced it. They changed it a bit. But yeah, the talent system. And why it changed with that is because now you get bonuses for choosing, like I'm in carpentry right now, you know, you get the ×2. So if you want to train anything, you still can, but if you want bonuses, you have to really crack down. And kind of like, and so having the premise of you can train anything, that also means to me that you can train everything, and that to beat the game you would train everything. Now I'm someone who takes master titles seriously, but I'm going to exclude that since, one, as far as progressing in Mobby, for most skills it's a waste of time. It doesn't earn you anything, even anything compared to my second point, which I'll make in a bit. But yeah, it doesn't earn you anything. So I understand not going for master titles, but going for rank 1s, pretty much every skill in this game gives you some kind of stat. There is a couple exceptions, like taming, I think doesn't give anything. I feel like there's another that I'm missing. Or some just do different kinda bonuses. Anyways, the point is that with a few exceptions, every skill in the game gives a stat. So naturally, I would assume that beating the game, beating an MMO, would mean getting the maximum stat. And so when people say, oh, I've soloed Pika Abyss, I'm done with the game, to me that means you've done the hardest content, but that doesn't mean you're done with the game, right? You still can improve your character. The whole point to me of having in-game content would mean having, doesn't mean what's the hardest to me, or, you know, if you beat this, you win. It's, if you beat this, you're earning the rewards at the maximum efficiency of time, which obviously isn't exactly accurate, especially with Pika Abyss. You know, 9 times out of 10 you get trash rewards. which is another problem set up by the game. But as a general principle, the better stuff you can run, even for Mobby, the better rewards you get. And so that has to do with my second point, which is even after you finish all these skills, which is possible, with how much AP you can earn, like extra AP from generations, AP from daily quests, from just doing Saga and your daily shadow missions, that's like 5.5 AP a day. And that's excluding the hundreds of thousands of EXP you get per week for the shadow missions and the mob kills, plus the 100k EXP you get for the Saga completion and the completion box. You know, EXP and AP, if you seek it, is just pumped into your character. So when it comes to gears and items, I would think naturally you'd find, if you play consistently, you'd find a finish. You'd find a finish before more content is released. Because skills released is inconsistent, it's a variable, but having, you know, your daily shadow missions, you always get them, right? Daily Saga, it's daily. You always have it there when you want to do it. So to me, those are consistents. So naturally, you'd reach the end of the game, or the end of your skills eventually. But then that's where my second point comes in, is these people who say that they're done with the game, and yet they say, oh, I've done it without any gear, right? Or I've done this thing without using this or that. And then people say, I never trained it because I think... Actually, that's a horrible example. You know, my point is that there are people who don't work on gear. Like, they think because they can finish the content, or even because they've done all the generations, and they can solo Pika Abyss, that with all their rank 1 skills, or with their skills that they have, that they're done. And to me, the in-game content is just a way to get your max roll gear, right? Your max roll CRKs, your enchants regarding Pika Abyss. You know, the whole reason for doing all these hard dungeons is to get enough materials. The faster you can solo the end-game content, the faster you can solo you can get the end-game gear, the faster you can get the end-game rolls on that gear and stuff. You know, it keeps going. To me, you're not truly done with the game until you have maxed everything, and that includes gear. And so that's kind of one of the points I never really thought about, because to me, the end game meant the best you can get. But that's not... I guess that is a different point, and you could defend that by saying there isn't a defined end game anymore, because reforges are luck. You know, a huge argument is against reforges, and also it's pay to win. You know, it's 13 mil for a stack of 35 reforges here in Alexina, and so if you're gonna get the end game gear, you need to literally spend hundreds of dollars. Even if you get it on a... Like, even if you don't have bad luck, you still mathematically need to spend hundreds of dollars if you want rank 1 on all your max roll gear. And that's after risking it for step 6 and now step 7. That's after risking it for enchants, which you can protect with money, but you can't protect right now. There's no option to get your gear protected with real life money from special upgrades. So however much time you spend grinding this or that or whatever, you're gonna have a 50% chance to lose it, and then you're going to have I guess a 65% chance. Is 35 the success rate? I'm not quite sure. I guess a 65% chance to lose your gear at the end of the game, no matter what you do. And so to me, it is incredibly hard to actually finish the game simply because of the system that's set up. And so, honestly, I'm so tired I don't even remember my original point. But I guess my point was that, to me, being competitive isn't about finishing the endgame content. It's about being better than other players. Because you should be able to, with how many stats you can get, with how much in-game gear you should get. The point of Mabinogi to me was being better than other players, you know? Not necessarily that shows. You know, I would like to consider myself someone who doesn't get jealous of other people's items, especially people who spend $400 in game on, you know, items or reforges even, you know, not actual items. And this is not good. Yeah, but so I wouldn't say like I wouldn't say I'm confronting these players or whatever, but the goal is to be, you know, better. You know, it is an MMO, it's competitive. My competitiveness comes against how fast I can solo content, how fast I can do this or that, versus what I think a general MMO would be PvP. So when people say, you know, I beat the game, and yet they say, you know, I don't have this reforge or that reforge, or I never trained a raincast, or I never used raincast, so that's how, and that's why I'm better than Sorso, right? I never really believed in that mentality, and I don't really agree with that mentality, because I think that's an incomplete thing, you know? Other players are always growing and getting better, hopefully. And so naturally, I think if you want to beat the game, if you want to, or maybe not beat the game, but if you want to say that there's nothing left to do when you haven't done what there is to do, then I think that's a bit counterintuitive. Or I don't know. Honestly, it's 3 a.m. now. That's all I can say. Oh my gosh. What have I done? Alright, anyways, thanks for watching. I really hope this comes out okay. It's so late. Alright, I'll catch you guys later. Bye.